Right, yes, hello, and welcome back to Free Vinyl Discovery. Today I am joined by Tom to talk about an album from a band that we have talked about very briefly in passing, about maybe potentially going into with a dive on his channel. But this is kind of our first dip in, I believe. But Tom, you can correct me if I'm wrong. What's your experience with Aztec Camera?
So thank you for having me on your prestigious channel. I have no idea how many subscribers you have right now, but I assume it's over 1,000. So basically Sam, we did Simple Minds together, of course, and Sam gave me the list of all the albums, and then I picked out a few, and you were like, already recorded that one, already recorded that one. And Aztec Camera, I think, was my third choice.
Good bronze medal.
So, because we have talked about doing a deep dive, because they only have 6 albums. This album was the only one that I talk a lot about being on Radio Music and seeing album covers a lot in like the year, top albums of blank year charts or whatever. So I was aware of this album, and then you showed me Killamont Street from their '87 album.
Yeah, love,
yeah, and that was really good. So that kind of got me intrigued to check this out. I didn't know any of these songs, so it was an interesting.
Yes, same for me as well. And we've hinted at it long enough. The album in question is Highland Hard Rain, which is Aztec Camera's debut, which is quite an interesting way to start, because normally when we do a deep dive, we do start with the debut album. Why change here? It's very lucky then that this one was in the pile. I'll briefly talk about the condition of this one specifically, and then we'll go on to our thoughts, because as per the tradition, when it comes to us doing the deep dive videos on Tom's channel, we don't know what each other thought of it yet. As far as this one goes, this is probably the grossest looking album that I've had. Not in terms of the design, but just some of the stainage on it is a little bit mysterious.
I was going to say, the album cover's not that bad.
The album cover's lovely, but for some reason, this album, I think they've like used it as a coaster for tea, and it's got loads of little markings on here. That
I really come through on camera, but yeah, I'll trust you.
I mean, yeah, it's like things.
Oh yeah,
like
okay,
that.
yeah.
Unless this is like a textured album that Roddy Frame put together to gross you out, I don't think that's how it came. As far as the album itself goes, it did play absolutely perfectly. I don't know why the sleeve is like double-ended and like it'll come out from both sides. That's not fab, don't like that. But
probably just split, I would imagine.
And it's free.
Yeah.
Well, I keep saying on this channel as we keep being positive, because all of these albums are free, so I can't exactly complain. And the album did play perfectly, and ultimately the vinyl is the part that's most important. But yeah, it's a really nice album to look at as well. It's very aesthetically pleasing. Quite early 80s, I think. What do you think?
It's quite abstract.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It reminds me of Basquiat's art. So I guess people who know the cover of The New Abnormal by The Strokes is a piece of Basquiat art. It's just very similar kind of weirdo like shapes and colors.
I mean, this album was released in 1983, I believe, which will make it the second album in the series that was released around this time. I think, yeah, I said Eye in the Sky was released in 83. It's actually released in 82. So that's this channel for you. Shoddy research, hastily recorded. That's my slogan. I'm going to put that on the channel banner. Right, we've filibustered enough. Tom, what were your thoughts on Highland Hard Rain?
I didn't like it as much as I thought I would.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's a very front-loaded album.
Yeah.
I think Oblivious is a pretty cool opening track. Immediately, it was not what I expected. It's very acoustic, not like slow, sad acoustic songs, but like pop songs, but most of the guitars are acoustic, so it has quite an earthly feel. So I liked Oblivious. I think The Boy Wonders, it feels like the kind of song I've heard a million times done better before. It felt very Elvis Costello in the songwriting, but obviously not as good, because I love Elvis Costello. Walk Out to Winter is probably the most overt like 80s pop song. It's like really bright and shiny, but then it's got that a few times in the album there's like electronic drums. I'm like, doesn't really fit with what you're doing. You're doing these like acoustic pop songs, and then there's like electronic drums, and it just doesn't really work. Singing is good. reminds me of Neil Finn at times. Of course, I don't know if Neil Finn had joined Split Enz at this point, but he would have been very into it. Yeah. You get We Could Send Letters, which is pretty good. It's very shimmery and bright again. It runs a bit long for me, but I think the crescendo at the end is nice. Back on Board has a cool guitar riff, which is definitely the highlight of the second half of the album. It suffers from a lack of variety for me. The songwriting isn't stellar. It's a decent listen though, because I like the instrumentation. It's like pleasant to have on. There are some good songs near the start, but nothing I would be dying to go back to. So I'd probably give it, like, if I'm going to give it a score, as we do on my channel, probably like a 6 out of 10. It's decent. I wasn't overwhelmed with joy listening to it.
Fair enough. I definitely agree with you. I got very excited at first because, as you say, very front-loaded album. I thought I really enjoyed the first few songs. Oblivious is a really good song, but The Boy Wonders, it sags a tad. For me, the main tracks were Oblivious, The Bugle Sounds Again, We Could Send Letters, and Pillar to Post. I thought that the B-side was going to be a lot better when Pillar to Post opened it, and the other songs did kind of let it down a tad. But those main 4 are really good to me, and I really do love them. But yeah, the rest of the album is a tad hit and miss. But as far as a debut is concerned, I was definitely expecting a lot less from Aztec Camera, because the only 2 songs that I know apart from the songs I've learned from this album are Somewhere in My Heart and Killamon Street. And they are 2 ends of the spectrum for me, because I've heard Somewhere in My Heart so many times in my life, and I was never overly keen on it, so it's been overplayed to buggery. And Killamon Street, I absolutely adore. It feels like poetry in motion. So I had no idea what to expect coming into Aztec Camera's debut. So actually, I'm very pleasantly surprised, and I'm quite pleased to have this in my collection. So it's just as well, really, that this is fallen on my side and not yours.
I was going to say, we had opposite experiences. I was expecting quite a bit and got let down. You were expecting not much and had a pleasant surprise.
It just shows you that if you lower your expectations, you'll always be pleased. Because you're either satisfied that you're right or you're pleased that it's gone well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it does throw into doubt my enthusiasm to check out Aztec Camera. Obviously.
Yeah.
Just, like I said, a lot of it was like stuff I'd heard before done better from the similar. The only thing that made it unique was that thing of the acoustic guitar and the synths and stuff, which I don't know how well it blended. It blended well on some songs, but not on others.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by the instrumentation, but it isn't anything that I haven't seen before. But I was all right, pleased. I am curious to check out Love, because that's the one with the 2 songs that I know from it, so I'd be curious to know what that ended up being like in comparison to this. But yeah, a deep dive is probably not on the horizon.
It's good to be able to use this series to sample artists and find out. Yeah,
because we've got more. Tom will come back at some point in the series, and we'll be doing more albums together. Just these little quick fire reviews to see what it's like. And like I said, this was free, so I mean, maybe I wouldn't have bought it if I'd seen it, but the fact that it's here, I'm grateful for it. And now I've given it a listen, and if I don't feel like it, I won't again. But there are songs that I'll check out.
The thing is, you could put on the A side and go to the bathroom during The Boy Wonders. That's perfect.
Exactly. It's nice to have that little commercial break, just like Once Upon a Time. Right. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. And I will see you again next week.